Hey there, sweet Looma, it's Denise from LoomaHat.com, and this time in this video I'm going to show you how to knit this super easy pattern, which is made up of just knits and purls. It's called the Zig Zag seed stitch, and I'm going to show you the flat version. Now this one looks great on the front as well as the reverse. Your knits do turn to purls, but you can still clearly see that zig zag of seed stitches, right? And I do want to give you a couple of heads up, like the fact that I've already blocked this stitch, but it doesn't really curl, so that's not a problem. And most importantly, I do want you to keep in mind that I did knit this on a large gauge loom, and you're going to need a multiple of 11 with your loom. And please remember that this is a stitch pattern only, so I'm not going to be showing you how I did my cast on or my cast off, because that always depends on the project and not the stitch pattern. However, I do want you to know that for my swatch, I repeated those 11 stitches 3 times, and so I have no edges or border. I did a simple E-wrap cast on and started the project. So here we're going to start on row 1, going from right to left. And for that row, we're doing a knit 1, purl 1, and repeating that 2 more times, and then we're going to end with 5 stitches. So let's jump right in and let me show you how I did that. Now I'm going to be using the flat version of the knit stitch for my knits, and then I'm going to do a purl. And then I'm going to do another knit. And remember that personally, I tend to use flat when I'm going from right to left. It's just a thing that I do. For me, it is interchangeable, but it's always a good idea to follow the stitch pattern and let the designer tell you the version of the knit stitch. All right, then I'm going to end that row with those 5 knit stitches, right? And they're just simple 5 knit stitches, which again, I'm going to be using the flat version. You can use the U-wrap or the true knit stitch. Do not use the E-wrap version, or it's going to look very, very different. All right, now you're going to repeat those 11 stitches as many times as necessary for your project. Now starting from the other end, we're going to do row 2, where we're going to knit 4, then purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, and finish with 2 knit stitches. That's our multiple of 11. So I have a tendency when I'm going in this direction to use the U-wrap version of the knit stitch. So we do that 1 knit, 2 knits, 3, and 4. And again, I use them interchangeably, so you can use, again, any one of those 3 versions of the knit stitch. And then you do your purl stitch, then another knit stitch, and you see how I half wrap and then knit off, right? Your purl stitch, which there's only one version of the purl stitch, so this is it, right? And then another knit stitch. And you could see that we're always knitting 11 stitches, because that's how many stitches are in this stitch pattern. That's why it says a multiple of 11. Then you're going to end with those last 2 knit stitches, and you're going to repeat those 11 stitches as many times as is necessary for the width of your pattern. For row 3, you're going to start with 3 knit stitches. Then you're going to do a purl knit, purl, and then end that row with those 3 knit stitches. And those are your 11 stitches. All right, so let's start with those 3 knit stitches. And remember that personally, I tend to do flat knit stitches when I'm in this direction. And then you're going to do the purl knit, purl, and you'll notice that you're always starting and ending with knit stitches, and that your purls are in the middle. They are what cause that seed stitch. So just keep that in mind. It helps to follow the pattern a lot easier, that you start and end with knit stitches, and you have sets that include 3 purl stitches in the middle. All right, now we're ready for row 4. For row 4, you're going to start with 2 knit stitches, then purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit 4. So again, we're going to start with simple knit stitches and with simple knit stitches. So I'm using the U-wrap and I'm going to do those 2 knit stitches, and then I'm going to do 1 purl and follow that with a knit, in my case a U-wrap, another purl stitch, and then another knit stitch, and then another purl, and my row is going to end with 4 knit stitches. So here are my 4, and you'll see that I use stitch markers and I put them every 11 pegs. Alright, so now we're ready for row 5, and for this row you're going to start with 5 knit stitches, then purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and you're going to end this 5th row with just 1 knit stitch. So let's start with those 5 knit stitches, and you see that my stitch marker is placed here. So when I start in this direction, I'm going from right to left. My stitch marker is at the beginning of the row, and it helps me to stay on track with the stitch pattern. I know when I've just started the stitch pattern, and at the end you'll see I have a stitch on the next peg where my next repeat starts. Woohoo! We are on row 6. You're gonna knit 2, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 4. And you guys already know how to do this, so I'm just gonna walk you through it. Ready? You knit those 2 first stitches, and I'm doing my U-wraps, and then I'm gonna do the combinations of purl, knit, purl, knit, and then 1 more purl. Remember, every row has 3 purls, and then you're gonna end this row 6 with your ta-da 4 knit stitches. And you see that when I'm going in this direction, my stitch marker is actually at the end of my row, and in the other direction it's at the beginning of my row. Now for row 7, you're going to knit 3, then purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and you're going to end with 3 knit stitches. But before I go into detail on row 7, I want to let you know that what you are looking at in this video is a flat version of the pattern, which means we're going back and forth. This pattern does not translate in the round when you're knitting something like a hat. If you want to use this stitch pattern to knit something in the round, like you're going circular, then you need to buy the written stitch pattern, and I'll put a link in the description and above. All right, let's get back to row 7, and we're gonna do those 3 knit stitches first. Then the combinations of the purl, and then knit, and then purl, and then knit, and I know it sounds boring, but 1 more purl, and then a knit, and end with those 3 knit stitches. In my case, I'm doing the flat, but you could do the U or the true. All right, that's the end of row 7. For row 8 now, you're going to knit 4, then purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, and end your row with 2 knit stitches. So remember, I'm on the other end now because I'm knitting flat. So let's start with that row of 4 knit stitches, and again here I'm doing the U-wrap, so half wrap and knit off, and then do your combination of purl and then knit and then purl and then knit and then purl. And I can't sing, but I'm gonna do it anyway because, well, that's what I do. So there's your purl, and then your last 2 knit stitches. That's the end of row 8, and what I want you to do next is remember to like, comment, and by all means share the video because it helps me a lot. Till next time, when you come back and you loom knit with me again.